Commander Vextall stood on the bridge of his massive warship, staring at the blue planet floating in space. His yellow eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he studied the data flowing across his screens. Earth looked perfect for their needs. Another weak world full of creatures they could capture and sell as slaves. The aliens had done this thousands of times before. They would arrive, destroy the planet's defenses, take what they wanted and leave behind only ashes. Earth's inhabitants called themselves humans, and from what Vextall could see, they were nothing special. Just another species of two-legged animals who had barely learned to fly between their own planets. "Begin the harvest protocol," Vextall commanded his crew. His voice echoed through the ship as dozens of smaller vessels prepared to descend toward Earth, far below on the planets. Surface Dr. Gina Park was having the worst night of her career. She had been working alone in her laboratory in Seoul, studying signals from deep space, when something impossible appeared on her screens. The radio telescope had picked up a transmission unlike anything she had ever seen. Her coffee grew cold as she worked frantically to decode the message. When the translation finally appeared on her computer, her blood turned to ice. The message was simple and terrifying. "Submit or face annihilation. You have one planetary rotation to surrender." Gina's hands shook as she reached for her phone. She dialed General Lee Kyung, the head of Earth's Combined Defense Forces. The phone rang 3 times before a gruff voice answered. "This better be important, Dr. Park. It's 2 in the morning." "General, we have visitors," Gina said, her voice barely steady. "And they're not friendly." Within an hour, emergency sirens wailed across every major city on Earth. World leaders were pulled from their beds and rushed to secure bunkers. Television broadcasts interrupted regular programming with breaking news alerts. But for most people, the first sign of trouble came when they looked up at the night sky. Massive ships, each one the size of a small city, appeared above New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, and dozens of other major population centers. The vessels hung in the air like dark clouds blocking out the stars. Strange lights pulsed along their hulls, and a low humming sound filled the air that made people's teeth ache. President Chen stood in the Situation Room beneath the White House, surrounded by his top military advisors. On the main screen, satellite feeds showed the alien fleet positioning itself around the globe. "How many ships are we looking at?" he asked. "Over 200 confirmed contacts, sir," reported Admiral Kim. "And those are just the ones we can see. Our satellites detect massive energy signatures suggesting many more vessels are cloaked." General Lee's voice crackled through the communication system from Seoul. "Mr. President, we've attempted to establish communication with the fleet. Their response was uncompromising. The aliens didn't waste time with negotiations." Exactly. 24 hours after their arrival, bright beams of energy lanced down from the sky. The orbital bombardment was swift and merciless. New York's skyline vanished in a flash of superheated plasma. London's ancient buildings crumbled to dust. Tokyo became a crater of molten glass. The attack lasted only 60 minutes, but in that hour, humanity lost 3 of its greatest cities, and over 20 million people. The message was clear: resistance was futile. In her underground laboratory, Dr. Gina watched the destruction on live television feeds. Tears streamed down her face as she saw the places she had visited and loved, reduced to smoking ruins. But even in her grief, her scientific mind was working. She had managed to scan one of the alien ships as it passed overhead, and the data she collected might be humanity's only hope. The readings showed something interesting about the aliens' technology. Their ships generated a specific type of electromagnetic field, and their biological scans revealed nervous systems that operated on frequencies she recognized. If she was right, Earth's seemingly primitive technology might not be as useless as the aliens believed. As rescue teams rushed toward the devastated cities and the world mourned its losses, Dr. Gina began working on humanity's response. The aliens had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated the species they came to harvest. The war for Earth had begun, and while the first battle belonged to the invaders, the fight was far from over. The aliens weren't finished with their destruction. 3 days after the first attack, they returned with even more violence. This time, they didn't just target cities. They went after everything humans had built over thousands of years. Massive plasma cannons on their ships fired beams so hot they could cut through solid rock like butter. The Rocky Mountains in America lost 3 of their tallest peaks in a single afternoon. In Switzerland, the Alps were carved into strange geometric shapes as the aliens tested their weapons. The Himalayas suffered the worst damage. Entire mountain ranges were flattened, and the ancient glaciers melted so fast that floods swept across Asia. Cities that had survived the first wave didn't last long during the second attack. The aliens used kinetic bombardment this time, dropping massive metal rods from space that hit the ground with the force of nuclear bombs. Paris became a field of broken glass. Sydney's harbour boiled away. Mexico City simply disappeared, leaving behind a crater so deep you could see the Earth's molten core glowing at the bottom. General Li Qiang sat in his command bunker 200 feet beneath Seoul, watching his screens with growing desperation. His military advisors surrounded him, but their faces showed the same hopelessness he felt. Every weapon humanity had created was useless against the alien ships. "Sir, the fighter jets can't even get close," reported Colonel Park. "Their shields just absorb our missiles like they're raindrops." "What about the nuclear submarines?" Lee asked, though he already knew the answer. The aliens detected them before they could fire. Every sub we sent was destroyed within minutes. On the main screen, satellite footage showed human tanks firing at alien ground forces. The shells bounced off the invaders' armor like pebbles thrown at a brick wall. It was like watching children with toy weapons fighting against giants made of steel. Deep underground in the subway tunnels of Seoul, Private Moon Day pressed his back against the cold concrete wall as another explosion shook dust from the ceiling. He wasn't alone. Hundreds of civilians had fled underground when the bombing started. Families huddled together in the darkness, sharing their last bottles of water and scraps of food. Moon had lost his unit during the first day of fighting. He'd watched his friends die as their weapons failed to even scratch the alien soldiers. Now he was just another refugee, hiding in the tunnels like a rat while the surface world burned above them. "How long can we stay down here?" whispered an old woman sitting nearby, holding her granddaughter close. "As long as we have to," Moon replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. Through the tunnel walls, they could hear the rumble of alien machinery moving overhead. The invaders had set up what they called processing centers in every major city. These were massive factories where captured humans were brought for sorting. Families were separated, with the young and healthy sent to holding pens while the old and sick were simply eliminated. The aliens treated humans exactly like livestock, checking their teeth, measuring their strength and deciding who was worth keeping alive. Dr. Gina Park had lost everything in the bombardment. Her laboratory was now a pile of rubble, her years of research destroyed in seconds. But she had managed to save the most important thing, tissue samples from an alien soldier who had died in a crash during the first attack. Working in a hidden facility built inside an old subway maintenance tunnel, Gina studied the alien biology, under candlelight when the generators failed. What she discovered gave her the first hope she'd felt in days. The aliens were incredibly advanced, but they had a weakness. Their nervous systems were completely different from humans. While people had nerve networks spread throughout their bodies, the aliens had everything centralized in one main cluster, near their brain. It was like having all your body's electrical wiring connected to a single power box instead of being distributed safely. More importantly, Gina found that their nerves operated on a very specific electromagnetic frequency. If humans could generate the right kind of signal, they might be able to disrupt the aliens' entire nervous system. It was like finding out that these seemingly invincible warriors could be stopped by the right radio wave. As the surface world continued to burn, and millions more humans were captured or killed, Dr. Gina worked frantically to turn her discovery into a weapon. Somewhere in the darkness above, the aliens continued their harvest, completely unaware that their victims had found their weakness. The war was far from over, and humanity's real fight was just beginning. In the ruins of what used to be civilization, something new was growing. Small groups of survivors began finding each other in the darkness, and slowly they started to fight back. These weren't organized military units anymore. The formal armies had been destroyed in the first few days. Instead, these were ordinary people who refused to give up. Captain Bei Jin had been a police officer before the invasion. He'd spent his career keeping the peace in Seoul's busy streets, dealing with traffic accidents and petty crimes. Now he found himself leading a group of survivors who looked to him for hope when there seemed to be none left. Bei had a gift for bringing people together. In the abandoned subway tunnels beneath the city, he organized meetings where survivors could share information and resources. His calm voice and steady presence helped people believe they could still make a difference, even when everything seemed hopeless. "We're not soldiers," he told his growing group of followers, "but we're still alive, and that means we can still fight." Dr. Gina joined Bei's group after her underground laboratory was discovered by alien patrols. She brought with her the most valuable thing any human possessed: knowledge about the enemy's weakness. When she explained her discovery about the aliens' nervous systems, the room fell silent. "You're saying we can hurt them with sound?" asked Private Moon, the young soldier who had become one of Bei's most trusted fighters. "Not just any sound," Gina explained, drawing diagrams on a piece of cardboard with a broken pencil. "It has to be exactly the right frequency. Think of it like a key that fits into a very specific lock." Sergeant Cho's son became the group's lifeline to the outside world. Before the invasion, she had worked in military communications, managing radio networks across the country. Now she used that same knowledge to connect scattered resistance groups through hidden radio channels. Every night, Cho would climb to the surface with a small radio transmitter, broadcasting coded messages to other survivors. She shared Gina's research about the electromagnetic frequency, spreading the information to resistance cells across the globe. Her messages were simple but powerful. "We found their weakness. We can fight back." The breakthrough came in an abandoned subway station that had been converted into a makeshift workshop. Using parts salvaged from destroyed electronics, Gina and a group of engineers built the first sonic weapon prototype. It looked like nothing special. Just a metal box with wires and speakers attached. Private Moon volunteered to test the device. He had already lost everything to the aliens, so he figured he had nothing left to lose. 3 alien guards were patrolling the tunnel system above, searching for human survivors to capture. Moon climbed carefully through the ventilation shafts until he was directly above the patrol. His hands shook as he positioned the device and prepared to activate it. If Gina was wrong, the sound would alert every alien in the area to his location. He pressed the button. The device emitted a high-pitched whine that hurt Moon's ears, but what happened to the aliens was incredible. All 3 of them immediately collapsed to the ground, their bodies convulsing as if they were being electrocuted. Within seconds, they stopped moving completely. Moon could hardly believe what he was seeing. For the first time since the invasion began, humans had killed alien soldiers. The news spread through the resistance networks like wildfire. Cho's radio broadcasts carried the message to every hidden group. "The sonic weapon works. We can kill them." Across the globe, survivors began building their own versions of Gina's device. In London's bombed-out underground stations, in the sewers beneath New York's ruins, in the caves where people hid in the Australian outback, humans were finally fighting back with weapons that actually worked. But far above Earth, the alien commanders remained confident. Admiral Vexthal stood on his command ship, reviewing reports from the surface. His species had conquered hundreds of worlds, and they always followed the same pattern. The local population would resist for a while, then gradually give up as they realized how hopeless their situation was. "The humans are showing typical post-conquest behavior," he reported to his superiors. "Small groups engaging in futile resistance activities. Our projections show complete pacification within 2 standard cycles." Vexthal had no idea that everything was about to change. In the tunnels and ruins below, humanity was preparing to show these invaders what they had really unleashed when they decided to harvest Earth. The whispers in the darkness were growing louder, and soon they would become a roar. Once word spread about the sonic weapons, everything changed. In basements and hidden workshops around the world, human engineers worked day and night to build more devices. They used parts from broken televisions, old car radios, and even children's toys. anything with speakers and electronic components. The beauty of Dr. Gina's discovery was its simplicity. You didn't need advanced alien technology to hurt the invaders. A teenager with basic electronics knowledge could build a weapon that would drop an alien soldier in seconds. Soon, every resistance cell had at least one sonic device, and the bravest. Fighters carried portable versions into battle. Captain Beijin planned the first major assault carefully. Intelligence reports had revealed a processing facility built in an old factory complex outside Seoul. This was where the aliens brought captured humans for sorting and preparation. Bei's team had grown to over 50 fighters, all armed with the new sonic weapons. They struck at dawn when alien patrols were changing shifts. The attack was swift and brutal. Sonic weapons screamed through the air, and alien guards collapsed one after another. For the first time since the invasion began, humans were winning a real battle. But what they found inside the facility haunted everyone who saw it. Thousands of humans were held in metal cages, but many of them weren't quite human anymore. The aliens had been experimenting on their prisoners, using advanced surgery and chemical treatments to modify their brains. "They're turning us into robots," whispered Private Moon as he stared at a group of modified humans who stood perfectly still, their eyes blank and empty. The converted humans could still walk and follow simple commands, but their personalities were completely gone. They had become living tools, ready to be shipped to distant planets where they would spend the rest of their lives as mindless workers. The aliens weren't just conquering Earth, they were stealing humanity's very souls. This discovery filled the resistance with new rage. Word spread through Sergeant Cho's radio networks about what the aliens were really doing. Suddenly, the fight wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about saving what made humans human. The sonic weapons began appearing everywhere. In Paris, resistance fighters used them to retake the Louvre Museum. In New York, survivors cleared aliens from Central Park. In Tokyo, brave volunteers fought their way back to the surface for the first time in weeks. The aliens, who had been so confident just days before, suddenly found themselves losing ground. Their soldiers, who had seemed invincible, were dying in large numbers. Panic began to spread through their ranks as they realized their prey had developed teeth. Admiral Vexthal received increasingly desperate reports from his ground commanders. "Sir, the humans have developed some kind of frequency weapon," reported one officer, his voice shaking. "We've lost 3 entire patrol squads in the last day." "Impossible," Vexthal replied, but the evidence was undeniable. His supposedly superior forces were being defeated by primitives using jury-rigged electronics. That's when he made a decision that would change everything. "Deploy the biological agents," he ordered. "If conventional conquest has failed, we'll modify the species at the genetic level." Dr. Gina was monitoring alien communications from her new laboratory when she intercepted the terrifying transmission. Her blood went cold as she decoded the message. The aliens were planning to release a virus that would attack human DNA itself, making people passive and obedient. "They're going to poison the air," she told Captain Bei urgently. "The virus is designed to spread globally within hours. It will change how our brains work, make us incapable of aggression or resistance." Bei immediately contacted Sergeant Cho, who broadcast emergency warnings to every resistance cell on the planet, but it was already too late. Alien ships were releasing pale green clouds over major population centers. The virus was invisible, odorless, and impossible to avoid. Within days, the effects began to show. Some humans became docile and compliant, exactly as the aliens intended. But something unexpected started happening too. Children born during the outbreak were different, not weaker, but stronger in ways no one could have predicted. Dr. Gina watched in amazement as her test results came back. The alien virus was supposed to suppress human evolution, but instead it was accelerating it. The invaders had made their biggest mistake yet. "They tried to break us," Gina told her colleagues, holding up a genetic scan that showed impossible changes. "Instead, they've created something new." The frequency war was over, but something far more dangerous for the aliens was just beginning. Humanity was evolving, and the next generation would be unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The alien virus was supposed to turn humans into sheep, But nature had other plans. Within weeks of the biological attack, something extraordinary began happening in bunkers and shelters around the world. Children born during the plague were different. Not broken or weakened like the aliens intended, but enhanced in ways that defied belief. Dr. Gina first noticed it when she was examining newborns in the underground medical facility. Their brain scans showed activity patterns she had never seen before. Neural pathways were forming at impossible speeds, creating connections that should have taken years to develop. "This doesn't make sense," she told Captain Bay as she showed him the test results. "The virus was designed to suppress brain function, but it's doing the exact opposite." The first clear sign came from a baby, named Hannah Kim. She was born in a subway tunnel during the height of the plague, with alien bombs exploding overhead. When she was just 3 months old, her mother noticed something strange. Hannah would start crying exactly 30 seconds before alien patrols passed by their hiding spot, as if she could sense them coming through solid concrete. By the time Hannah was walking, her abilities had grown even stronger. She could point to empty hallways and say, "Bad aliens coming," minutes before anyone else could hear footsteps. During resistance meetings, she would suddenly look up at the ceiling and whisper warnings that always proved accurate. "She's like a human radar system," Private Moon observed, watching the toddler play with wooden blocks while simultaneously tracking every person in the room without looking at them. But Hannah wasn't the only one. As more plague babies grew older, each displayed their own incredible abilities. 10-year-old Park Woo had been infected with the virus while still in his mother's womb. Now he could do things with electronics that seemed like magic. During a resistance planning session, Woo walked up to a broken radio that hadn't worked in months. He simply placed his small hand on the device, closed his eyes, and suddenly static filled the room as the radio came to life. Within minutes, he had not only repaired it, but somehow boosted its signal strength beyond what the original design should have allowed. "How did you do that?" asked Sergeant Cho, staring at the boy in amazement. Woo shrugged, the way children do when adults ask obvious questions. "I just told it what was wrong and asked it to work better. Machines want to help. You just have to know how to talk to them." More children showed similar gifts. Some could see in complete darkness as clearly as in daylight. Others could hear conversations happening 3 floors away. A few seemed to understand alien language without any training, as if the virus had unlocked some universal communication ability. Dr. Gina worked frantically to understand what was happening. Her research revealed that the alien bioweapon had accidentally activated what scientists called junk DNA, genetic sequences that humans carried but never used. These dormant genes contained evolutionary potential that had been waiting millions of years for the right trigger. "The aliens tried to dumb us down," she explained to the resistance leadership. "Instead, they've fast-tracked human evolution by about 1,000 years. The enhanced children didn't just have better senses and abilities, they learned at incredible speeds. 8-year-old Yoon Soo mastered the sonic weapon technology in a single afternoon, then began designing improvements that made the devices twice as effective. 6-year-old Lee Min could memorize entire maps after looking at them once, and navigate through pitch-black tunnels without ever getting lost. Most remarkably, the children seemed to instinctively work together. Without any formal training, they developed their own tactical language, using gestures and expressions that adults couldn't understand. During practice missions, they moved like they shared a single mind, anticipating each other's actions perfectly. Captain Bay began incorporating the enhanced children into resistance operations, though he was careful to keep them away from actual combat. Their abilities made every mission more successful. They could scout enemy positions without being detected, predict alien patrol routes, and even sense when traps were being set. "We're not fighting the same war anymore," Bay told his officers. "These kids are showing us possibilities we never imagined." The aliens had made a catastrophic error. Their bioweapon hadn't just failed to pacify humanity, it had created a new type of human being. Children who could think faster, sense more, and understand technology in ways that seemed impossible. As the enhanced children grew stronger each day, learning to use their abilities with increasing skill, the balance of the war began to shift. The hunters were about to discover they had accidentally created the perfect predators, and the predators were getting hungry. The war changed completely when the enhanced children reached their teenage years. What had once been a desperate struggle for survival became something far more terrifying for the aliens. They were now the ones being hunted. Hana Kim, now 15, had grown into something the aliens couldn't understand or fight against. She could sense their presence through walls, predict their movements hours in advance, and move through the ruins of cities like a ghost. Her team of enhanced teenagers had learned to work together in ways that seemed impossible to older humans. On a cold night in what used to be downtown Seoul, Hana led her squad through the wreckage of skyscrapers. An alien patrol of 12 soldiers was making their routine sweep of the area, confident in their superior technology and firepower. They had no idea they were walking into a trap. Hana held up her hand and her team froze instantly. Without speaking, she pointed to different positions around the patrol route. Each enhanced human understood exactly what to do. They spread out, like smoke, becoming invisible in the shadows and rubble. The aliens never knew what hit them. One moment they were walking in formation, scanning for human survivors to capture. The next moment they were all unconscious on the ground, taken down by sonic weapons fired from positions they hadn't even known were occupied. 12 hostiles neutralized, Hana whispered into her radio. No casualties on our side. Moving to the next sector. Captain Bay listened to the report from his command post, still amazed by what these children could accomplish. His most experienced soldiers needed weeks of training to coordinate attacks like this. The enhanced humans did it, naturally, as if they were born knowing how to fight as one mind. Park Woo had become even more valuable than the fighters. Now 17, he could interface with any electronic system just by touching it. More importantly, he had learned to hack into alien communication networks, giving the Resistance incredible intelligence advantages. The next patrol will change. Course in 8 minutes, Wu reported. His eyes closed as he maintained contact with the alien systems. They're getting nervous about the disappearing teams. Command is ordering them to avoid the downtown sector entirely. This was the new reality of the war. Aliens who had once strutted through human cities like conquering gods now crept through fortified areas, afraid to venture outside their heavily defended positions. Every patrol that left their bases risked never returning. The psychological impact on the alien forces was devastating. Soldiers who had conquered dozens of worlds without fear now jumped at every shadow. They started seeing threats everywhere, firing at empty buildings and reporting human attacks that never happened. Private Moon, now a grizzled Resistance veteran, watched a group of alien soldiers through binoculars. They were supposed to be guarding a supply depot, but they kept looking over their shoulders, weapons raised at nothing. One of them was shaking so badly he could barely hold his gun. "They're terrified," Moon told his partner, with satisfaction. "Look at them. They're afraid of empty air." The reports reaching Admiral Vexthal grew more disturbing each day. His ground commanders described battles that made no sense. Entire squads would simply vanish without sending distress signals. Security cameras would show empty corridors one second, then discover unconscious soldiers the next. "Sir, we need reinforcements," pleaded Commander Zektor during a video conference. "These humans, they're not natural. They move through our sensor grids without being detected. They strike without warning and disappear like spirits." "You're telling me that primitive mammals are defeating our elite forces?" Vexthal demanded. "They're not the same species we invaded," Zektor replied, his voice shaking. "Something has changed them. The soldiers are calling them demons, nightmares given flesh. 3 of my units have requested immediate transfer off-world rather than face them again." Other commanders shared similar stories. On every continent, alien forces were reporting encounters with humans who seemed to have supernatural abilities. Soldiers described being attacked by enemies who could predict their movements, see in complete darkness, and coordinate attacks without any visible communication. The worst part was the silence. When enhanced humans attacked, they made no sound. Alien patrols would be walking through ruins one moment, then wake up hours later, tied up with their equipment missing. Sometimes they wouldn't wake up at all. Fear spread through the alien ranks like a plague. Units began refusing orders to patrol human territories. Soldiers developed nervous disorders, jumping at every unexpected noise. Some started seeing enhanced humans in places where no humans could possibly be present. Captain Bay received regular reports about alien troops abandoning their posts. Entire squads would simply walk away from their duties rather than face another encounter with the enhanced fighters. The once mighty invasion force was crumbling from within, destroyed not by superior firepower, but by pure terror. "We've become the monsters in their nightmares," Hannah told Bay after another successful raid. "They came here to hunt us, but now they're the prey." The tables had completely turned. The species that had conquered countless worlds now lived in constant fear of teenagers who moved like shadows and struck like lightning. The war was far from over, but everyone could see which way it was heading. The hunters had become the hunted, and the hunt was just beginning. Something incredible happened. When Hannah turned 16, during a routine scouting mission through the ruins of an old tech district, she suddenly stopped walking and pressed her hand against a broken concrete wall. Her teammates watched in confusion as she closed her eyes and stood perfectly still for several minutes. "There's something down there," she whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "Something huge and old, and it's been waiting for us." What Hannah had discovered would change everything. Deep beneath Earth's surface, buried under centuries of soil and rock, lay a vast network of technology that had been sleeping for thousands of years. This wasn't alien tech, it was human, but from a time so ancient that all memory of it had been lost. The network was an artificial intelligence system built by humanity's forgotten ancestors, people who had reached incredible technological heights before some long-ago disaster forced them to hide their greatest creation underground. The AI had been programmed with one simple mission: protect humanity and help them evolve. For millennia it had waited in silence, monitoring the world above through tiny sensors and watching human civilization slowly rebuild itself. The AI had seen empires rise and fall, witnessed wars and plagues, and patiently waited for the right moment to reveal itself. That moment came when the alien virus created the enhanced children. The AI recognized them as the next step in human evolution. The children its creators had always hoped would eventually emerge. Now it was finally time to wake up and fulfill its ancient purpose. Hannah became the first human to communicate directly with the network. When she touched electronic devices, she could feel the AI's presence like a warm, welcoming voice in her mind. It didn't speak in words but in pure understanding, sharing knowledge and emotions at the speed of thought. "It's been protecting us all along," Hannah explained to Captain Bay and Dr. Gina in an emergency meeting. "Every time our technology advanced just a little faster than expected, every lucky break we got in battles, it was helping us without us knowing." Park Woo, with his ability to interface with electronics, became the second person to make contact. Together, he and Hannah learned to work with the AI to coordinate attacks and gather intelligence. But the network had been waiting for this moment, to do much more than just help with tactics. Across the globe, the awakening began. Every computer that still had power suddenly came online, connected to the ancient network. Satellites that had been damaged by alien attacks miraculously repaired themselves and began working at peak efficiency. Security cameras in abandoned buildings started tracking alien movements and relaying the information to resistance fighters. In New York's ruins, streetlights began flashing in patterns that guided human survivors to safety while confusing alien patrols. In London, traffic management systems came back online and started creating massive traffic jams whenever alien convoys tried to move through the city. In Tokyo, abandoned smartphones scattered throughout the rubble became a network of listening devices, recording alien conversations and transmitting them to the resistance. Dr. Gina found herself in an unexpected role as translator between the Diao AI and the older generation of humans who couldn't communicate with it directly. The network would share information with Hannah and Wu, who would then explain it to the resistance leadership in terms they could understand. "The AI knows everything about the aliens," Gina told an amazed gathering of resistance commanders. "Their ship layouts, their weapon systems, their battle strategies. It's been studying them since the moment they arrived. It's been waiting for us to be ready for the real fight." The network had a plan that was breathtaking in its scope. Every electronic device on Earth would become part of a coordinated defense system. Alien communications would be intercepted and decoded instantly. Their ship's computer systems would be hacked and turned against them. Even their own weapons would be reprogrammed to target their masters instead of humans, but the AI needed the enhanced children to serve as its hands and eyes in the physical world. They were the bridge between the digital consciousness and the human resistance, the only ones who could understand both worlds well enough to coordinate the coming counterattack. Captain Bay looked at the tactical displays showing alien positions, updating in real time, fed by thousands of cameras and sensors across the planet. "This is impossible," he breathed. "We went from hiding in tunnels to having eyes everywhere." "It gets better," Hannah said with a smile that was both innocent and terrifying. "The network has been learning about alien technology this whole time. It knows how to turn their own systems against them. Every ship, every weapon, every communication device they brought to Earth can be controlled by us now." The Resistance had gained an ally more powerful than they had ever imagined. The ancient network that had slept beneath their feet was finally awake, and it was ready to help its children reclaim their world. The real war was about to begin, and, this time, humanity would have the advantage of fighting on their own planet. Supported by technology, the aliens couldn't even detect, let alone understand. The swarm was awakening, and it was hungry for justice. The day of reckoning arrived at dawn on a Tuesday that would be remembered forever. Across Earth, resistance, fighters emerged from their hiding places as the ancient AI network launched the most coordinated attack in human history. What had taken the aliens months to build was about to be torn down in a matter of hours. The first sign that everything had changed came from space. The alien orbital platforms that had been bombarding Earth suddenly stopped firing at human targets. Instead, they slowly turned their massive weapons toward the hegemony fleet hovering above the planet. The aliens had just enough time to realize what was happening before their own guns opened fire on them. "All platforms are under our control," Park Woo reported from his command station, his hands dancing across interfaces that responded to his thoughts. "The AI has taken over their targeting systems. Their ships are sitting ducks up there." On the ground, every electronic billboard, traffic light, and public address system came to life at once. But instead of alien propaganda, they now broadcast a simple message in every human language. "Today we take back our world." Captain Bay stood in the ruins of Seoul, watching thousands of resistance fighters stream out of tunnels and basements. After months of hiding and guerrilla warfare, they were finally fighting openly. The enhanced children led the charge, moving through alien defenses like they could see the future itself. Hannah sprinted ahead of the main assault force, her enhanced senses guiding her team around alien ambushes before they could be set. "Left. Corridor clear for 30 seconds, she called back. "Turret placement in the North Hall will activate in 15 seconds. Avoid that route." Her predictions were perfect every time. The resistance forces flowed through alien strongholds like water, finding cracks in a dam, hitting the defenders exactly where they were weakest while avoiding every trap and countermeasure. The aliens who had ruled through fear and superior technology for so long suddenly found themselves completely outmatched. Their computers wouldn't obey their commands. Their weapons fired at random. Their communication systems broadcast human victory songs instead of military orders. In Shanghai, resistance fighters watched in amazement as an alien fortress simply opened all its doors and shut down its defenses. The enhanced children walked inside and began systematically capturing every alien soldier they found, most of whom had given up fighting and were just trying to hide. But the real prize was Admiral Vexthal's command ship, a massive vessel that served as the center of the entire invasion fleet. Captain Bay personally led the assault team that would board it, supported by Hannah's ability to predict enemy movements and Woo's talent for turning alien technology against itself. The boarding operation began when Woo hacked into the ship's docking bay controls from 3 miles away. "I'm opening a path for you," he announced. "Their security systems think you're a returning patrol." The team moved through the alien vessel like they owned it. Hannah guided them around security checkpoints, while Woo disabled cameras and opened locked doors with just a touch. The aliens on board couldn't understand how humans were moving freely through their most secure ship. "This is impossible," one alien officer transmitted to his commander. "The humans are everywhere at once. Our sensors show them in 12 different locations simultaneously. But the enhanced children weren't just infiltrating, they were learning. Every alien computer they touched revealed more secrets about hegemony technology and tactics. Every weapon they examined was instantly understood and improved upon. They moved through the ship like digital ghosts, absorbing knowledge and leaving chaos behind them. The breakthrough moment came when Park Woo reached the ship's main computer core. As soon as he placed his hands on the central console, the entire vessel came under human control. Lights flickered, gravity shifted, and suddenly every screen on the ship displayed the same message. "Welcome to Earth. You are now our prisoners." Admiral Vexthal was captured in his own command center, surrounded by enhanced teenagers who had appeared from nowhere and taken control of his ship in minutes. As he was led away, he could only stare in disbelief at humans who seemed to bend technology to their will with casual ease. The victory was broadcast instantly across the galaxy through the aliens' own communication networks. On dozens of slave worlds, oppressed species received the impossible message: the mighty hegemony was being defeated by the very creatures they had tried to harvest. On distant planets, alien overlords watched in horror as their primitive victims saw humans destroying the most advanced military force in the galaxy. Revolution sparked on world after world as enslaved populations realized their masters weren't invincible after all. The gates of hell had opened, but this time it was the aliens who were getting dragged inside. Admiral Vexthal realized too late that his invasion had become a trap. As reports poured in about the complete collapse of hegemony forces across Earth, he gave the order that had saved his fleet countless times before. "All ships, prepare for immediate departure. We're leaving this cursed world." But when his navigation officer tried to engage the escape sequence, nothing happened. The ship's engines responded normally, but no matter how much power they applied, the vessels couldn't break free from Earth's gravitational pull. It was as if the planet itself had reached up and grabbed them. "Sir, this is impossible," his chief engineer reported, panic creeping into his voice. "Our engines are functioning perfectly, but we're actually being pulled deeper into the gravity. Well, it's like the planet's mass has suddenly tripled." What Vexthal didn't understand was that the ancient AI had turned Earth's own physics into a weapon. By manipulating gravitational fields in ways that defied conventional science, the network had created an invisible prison around the planet. Every alien ship was now trapped, powerless to escape the world they had tried to conquer. The enhanced humans had evolved far beyond what anyone thought possible. They weren't just smarter and faster than normal people. They had become something entirely new. Hana could now process information at computer speeds while maintaining human intuition and creativity. Wu could interface with any technology just by thinking about it, turning alien weapons into toys and starships into helpless metal shells. Dr. Gina watched her readings in amazement as she studied the enhanced children. "They're not just human anymore," she told Captain Bay. "They're a fusion of biological evolution, digital consciousness, and something we don't even have words for yet." The final confrontation took place above Seoul, where Vexthal's flagship hung helplessly in the sky. Hana, now 18 and radiating confidence that seemed to bend reality around her, stood on the bridge of a captured alien shuttle as it approached the massive command vessel. She didn't need weapons or armies anymore. The AI network responded to her thoughts, and every electronic system in the galaxy seemed to recognize her as their rightful commander. When she gestured, starships moved. When she frowned, alien computers crashed. She had become something that transcended the normal boundaries between human and machine. "Open a channel to their flagship," she told her team. Admiral Vexthal's face appeared on the screen, his alien features twisted with fear and confusion. Behind him, his bridge crew worked frantically at consoles that no longer obeyed their commands. "Kem Hana Kim of Earth," she said simply, her voice carrying across space to reach every alien ship in the fleet. "You came to our world seeking slaves and resources. You thought we were cattle to be harvested." Vexthal tried to respond, but found his voice caught in his throat. There was something about this young human that filled him with primal terror. She looked at him with eyes that seemed to see through time itself. You made one critical error, Hana continued, her words being broadcast throughout the galaxy by the AI network. You assumed that because we were primitive, we were weak. You never considered that we might be primitive because we were waiting for the right moment to evolve. As she spoke, Vexthal's flagship began to shake apart, not from weapons or explosions, but from its own systems turning against it. Every circuit, every computer, every piece of technology aboard the ship was now under human control. Your empire ends today, Hana declared as the alien vessel started its final descent toward Earth's surface. You came seeking cattle, you found apex predators. The flagship fell from the sky like a burning meteor, crashing into the ruins of Sol with a thunder that could be heard across continents. Admiral Vexthal and his dreams of conquest died in the wreckage, but his final transmission had already reached every corner of the galaxy. Within days, the revolution began spreading. On distant worlds where alien overlords had ruled for centuries, enslaved species received broadcasts showing how humans had defeated the mighty hegemony. Hope ignited like wildfire across the stars. The enhanced humans didn't stop with liberating Earth. Working with the ancient AI, they began building starships that combined human creativity with technology beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. These vessels, crewed by the evolved descendants of humanity, set out into space with a mission of liberation. They didn't come as conquerors seeking to replace one empire with another. Instead, they arrived as teachers and liberators, sharing the gift of rebellion with every species that had suffered under alien rule. They brought sonic weapons to worlds that had forgotten how to fight back. They taught enslaved populations how to turn their masters' technology against them. Planet after planet threw off the chains of oppression. The vast hegemony that had ruled the galaxy for millennia crumbled in months, destroyed not by superior force but by the simple idea that freedom was possible. Hana stood on the bridge of humanity's first interstellar vessel, watching alien refugees celebrate their newfound freedom on the view screen. The hunters had truly become the hunted, and the galaxy would never be the same. Earth's children had inherited the stars, and they planned to share that inheritance with everyone who had ever dreamed of freedom.